Bro, imagine imagine being in the crib with your kid on Christmas Eve at that, and your child pointing down the stairs saying, "Oh, it's Santa." Excuse me? Santa don't be in basements. Santa be upstairs on the roof. What are we talking about? Yo, what's the word? I know, I know. It's been a minute. My bad. I took some personal time off to go visit family, so on and so forth. But you don't care about none of that, do you? I know what you do care about. The midnight hour. So, with that said, welcome to the midnight hour. What is the midnight hour, you may be asking? The midnight hour is where you and me, as a collective, come together to watch any and everything horror related on the internet by using your submissions, by tagging me at Soho's World on all social media platforms. I think I may have a better way of doing this. Um, yeah, I may have you submit them via a Google Doc that will be at the in the description for the video. So, with that out of the way, for tonight we are going to watch some animated horror shorts. Yes, I know. We are about to come across the second week of January. I get it. But better late than never, right? Right. 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 All right, so with that out of the way, here's tonight's first video. So, for tonight's first video, submitted by the good brother BZBM23, it is a Christmas horror story animated from the good folks over at Llama Arts. Let's get into it.
This story took place about 5 years ago on Christmas Eve night. It was around 1 in the morning, and I had just finished placing presents under the tree. I went upstairs to brush up and everything, then came back downstairs to the kitchen to get a glass of water before bed. My son Jake, who was 4 at the time, was standing by the stairs leading to the basement. I asked him what he was doing up so late.
Okay.
He pointed down the stairs and said, "Santa." I picked him up and carried him back to his room. I took a glass of water and went to bed.
That is not funny. No.
I woke up around an hour later to my son running down the hall outside my room. I sighed and got out of bed.
Nah, that was not your kid.
As I was going down the stairs, I saw Jake by the tree looking at presents. Then he ran past me into the basement stairs again. He pointed down the stairs again. This time I looked down the stairwell, and my heart dropped as I saw a black figure sitting on the bottom step. I almost screamed, but I somehow held it in. I pulled my son quietly away from the basement door and closer to the front door of the house. I moved my hand away from my son's mouth to reach for the lock in the doorknob. I tried to pull the door open as quietly as possible, but it was pointless. The squeaky hinges let out the usual ear-piercing screeches, and I cringed in my mouth and eyes as I did. Suddenly, there were heavy stomps coming from up the basement stairs. I screamed and pushed open the storm door and practically threw Jake outside. I shut both doors behind us and we ran to the neighbor's house. I rang the doorbell as fast as possible, probably 30 times before they answered. After that, we went inside and stayed there and waited for the police. Whoever that person was gone though, as determined after the police conducted a thorough investigation of the house. I ended up lying to Jake, telling him that actually was Santa Claus, but a few years later, he remembered the incident and became a little more wise to what actually happened.
That's insane. Bro, imagine imagine being in the crib with your kid on Christmas Eve at that, and your child pointing down the stairs saying, "Oh, it's Santa." Excuse me? Santa don't be in basements. Santa be upstairs on the roof. What are we talking about? GG's. GG's. Well, all right, so for tonight's second video, the submission comes from the good brother Greg. Appreciate you, man. We are about to watch True New Year Horror Story Animated. It comes from the good folks over at SSG Animations. Big shout out to Greg, Lamp Party, and Lost Gardens for the Tsunami Drip. Appreciate you, my guy. Lost Gardens, remember your roots. Respect your roots. This is not an ad.
Hi, I'm Daniel, and I'm a firefighter. You must be wondering why
Hi,
I'm
Daniel.
telling you about my profession. That's because
Oh,
I'm
this is
about to
definitely
tell
the
you the
90s.
story of why I
The
decided
artwork in
to
the
be a
background.
firefighter.
It's like
I'm an orphan, and on the
Dixie
day I
Cup
turned 18,
craze
my
that
foster
took over
family
the
kicked me
late
out of their
80s,
house.
Early 90s, all over
It
the
was
place.
a hellhole, to be honest, but at least I had a roof over my head and a bed to sleep in while I lived with him. It was my birthday and also my first day on the street. Did I mention I was born on the 31st of December, so technically it was New Year's Eve, too. I had about $200 that I somehow managed to save up from my job at the bakery, and a small duffel bag full of clothes from the thrift store. My foster parents took all the money I earned and left me with the bare minimum. Now, I was free, but still had nowhere to go. I knew life on the streets was hard, so I approached a homeless shelter the same day, but unfortunately, there was no place for anyone. And so I began my first day as a homeless adult. I still had my job, so sooner or later I knew I would be able to rent a cheap apartment. But I didn't know how long it would take. I was just a high school graduate with no finance or plan to go to college. I went to my job next. The bakery was awfully busy, as it was the year end. I finished my shift at about 7 p.m., and, as a gift to myself, grabbed a slice of cheesecake to celebrate my 18th birthday. The day I finally left my hellish foster family behind deserved a small celebration. After eating the cheesecake, I was walking on the sidewalk with nowhere to go, so I just decided to sleep on a park bench. It was around 9 in the evening when I was just laying on the bench with my duffel bag under my head, staring at the moving branches above. The park was almost completely deserted, so I was a bit spooked when someone touched my foot. I got up and looked at the two people standing in front of me. The couple looked as if they were in their late 70s.
This is already
Both were
giving
dressed in
bad
modest
vibes.
clothes and were
Already.
smiling at me. They looked harmless, so I asked,
no, they looking for a third.
"What do you both want?" To which the old lady said,
Son, it's the 31st of December. Are you just going to sleep on this old rusty park bench and wake up to the new year?
Nah,
I immediately
actually,
knew
your
she was
wife
kidding,
trying to
so
recruit.
I smiled back and said, "Ma'am, I'm sorry if it bothers you, but I'm homeless and have nowhere to go, so I decided to sleep in the park."
Son, it's going to be the new year in a few hours, and no one deserves to be alone on the last day of the year. Would you like to join us for dinner
She's
tonight?
really trying to recruit.
We would love to host you.
Apart from a single slice of cheesecake, I had nothing the whole day. My stomach grumbled in acknowledgement before I
That's
could even say
crazy.
yes, so I had no choice but to go with the couple. They both smiled at me and led the way to their home. I silently followed the couple as they took me to their home, which wasn't far away from the park. Once we entered their modest one-story home, I immediately smelled the food. It was chilly outside, but
Modest.
their home was pretty warm and comfy. We sat around the table,
That's
which
another
was
way
full
for
of
saying that
delicious
they don't
looking
got
dishes.
shit in their crib.
The couple was very hospitable and let me have the first serving of each dish. Soon, we were all laughing and enjoying the food. They even asked me what my story
found
was,
company
and
on
I
his
told
birthday.
them what
That's
happened
what's up.
before, even the fact that it was my birthday that day. Soon our meal came to an end, and the old lady brought a cheesecake.
Son, I may have prepared the whole dinner, but I'm not so good at making desserts. My husband bought this cake from the famous bakery downtown. I hope you like it.
I just stared
It's a
at the
little
couple with
convenient.
tears in my eyes. It was a great coincidence.
Oh,
What were the odds that the couple had bought the cake that I loved the most from the bakery I worked
That's what
in
I'm saying.
on my
There's-
birthday,
mm-mm,
and now
mm-mm.
had invited me to share their
Nope.
meal with them? I had no words, so I began weeping at the dinner table. The old man patted my back and helped me gain my composure.
He's really going through it.
At last, we cut the cake, and it was the first real birthday I'd ever had. None of my foster families cared about my birthday.
Wow.
Always too drunk
I
or
hope
too
they
busy
don't
on
do
the last
something
day of the
crazy.
year to pay attention to me.
Crazy.
I ate half of the cake, even though I was full. It was finally my time to leave.
Bro, how
I
you
could
gonna
not
eat
impose
half
on the
the
old
cake?
couple anymore, although they insisted
any
I stayed in their
manners?
home instead of seeking shelter in the park. But I was not going to exploit their generosity, so I left. While I was tying my shoes, the old lady handed me a container full of the remaining cheesecake. "Don't you guys want to eat it?"
Aw.
I asked, to which the man replied, "We are old folk. We should stay away from sweets if we want to live a long life." And then he laughed. I left their home with a
Speak
full
for
stomach and a heavy heart, with only one thought on my mind. Why did I never have a foster family like this? The next day I was woken up by an unknown man wearing a suit. I'd slept on the same bench in the park. "Are you Daniel Jordan?" "Yes, I am. Who are you?" "Oh, I'm Michael Rivers. I work at the homeless shelter. You were there yesterday looking for a bed. Well, one of the occupants just left, so we have a spot for you if you're still interested." Michael asked. "Yes, that would be great."
What?
"Good. So follow me. Let's get you settled in." On our way to the shelter, he asked me a few questions about myself. We made small talk.
Real quick. I don't know if they do that outside of New York City, but this is unheard of. Whoever is working at a homeless shelter is not going to go to the park. I know that for a fact. Is not going to go to the park to tap the foot of a homeless person and say, "Hey, you need a bed." So, and again, I'm from New York, so I don't know if it happens anywhere else, but this is wild.
And finally he said, "You must be starving, Daniel. Let's hope the breakfast buffet is still open when we reach the shelter." I know he was joking, but suddenly I reached into my duffel bag and grabbed the container full of cheesecake. Remembering the whole evening I spent with a nice old couple, I wished to know more about them
Why is
and
there actually
who they were.
playing?
As of yesterday, I hardly got any chance to speak about them. Partly because I was busy eating and answering their questions, so I decided to ask
was-
Michael.
Weird.
"Hey,
That was a weird
do you know
transition.
Mr. and Mrs. Alberto? They live on 83rd Street. They must be well into their late 70s. Michael stopped in his tracks and looked me straight in the eyes and said, "The Alberto family died in a fire years ago. It's a quite well-known tragedy in this part of the town. The home on 83rd Street has not been
What?
renovated since the fire in which Mr. and
that
Mrs.
gave me
Alberto
chills.
passed away.
That's nuts.
What do you want to know about them all of a sudden?" I just stood on the sidewalk, listening to Michael. I knew that Michael grew up in this neighborhood, he had just mentioned it, so his information could be trusted. But I couldn't shake the fact that I had just eaten dinner with the couple a couple of hours ago. I stuffed my duffel bag into Michael's hands and ran towards 83rd Street. Michael had no chance of knowing what was wrong with me, so he ran behind me too. Once we both stood in front of the Alberto house, it would be an understatement to say that I was shocked, because I was shaken to my core. The home was no more than several pillars and a few walls attached to a broken, crumbled roof. The remains of the home were completely charcoal black, indicating that fire had destroyed the home and killed its owners. "What are you looking at, buddy? What's so interesting in this burnt house that you ran almost 5 blocks to see it? Michael asked, catching his breath. You may think I sound crazy, but I've met the Albertos. Oh, so you know them from your childhood. Michael thought I had met them when they were alive. No, Michael.
That's
I met them yesterday. What are you trying to say? Are you drunk, Daniel? No, I'm sober, but I met them in the park yesterday, and I narrated the whole incident to him. Michael was confused and didn't believe me at first, but when I started to specify the details of the home from before it was burnt and how the couple offered to help me, he too believed that I had indeed met the ghost of Mr. and Mrs. Alberto. That day, standing in front of that burnt house, I decided to be a firefighter. I realized that no matter what, the good in the world always remains good, and they both should have been alive if it weren't for the fire. I don't know why the couple helped me, or what their motive was, but they sure did make me feel special and loved. They gave me a purpose in my life and helped me when I was at my lowest. Now, as a firefighter, I make sure I save each and every person I can. And that day, as I and Michael walked away from the Alberto house, I dug into my duffel bag, and guess what? The container was still full of cheesecake.
I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting that at all. With the old, that was good. All right, so for tonight's last video, it is a submission brought in by my brother Mills. He's the artist behind my outro song. If you guys have been following the channel, shout out to my brother. Appreciate you, man. It is a Babysitter's Worst Clown Nightmare from the good people over at Snarl. So let's get into it.
Hey, I'm Sapphire. Want to hear something scary? So a few years ago, there was a pretty well-off family that lived in a really big house in Newport Beach, California. A mother, a father, and 2 small kids. And one night, the parents decided that they wanted a night out for themselves, so they hired a babysitter.
Like
she was maybe about 16 years old. So when the babysitter got there, the parents gave her a little rundown of what to do, and the mom pulled her aside and said, once you finish tucking the kids in, do you mind watching TV in our bedroom? The kids have been having nightmares lately and waking up screaming, and our room is right next to theirs, and so it's a lot easier to get to them. Yeah, sure, I can do that. So the babysitter and the 2 small children waved goodbye to their parents. So after a few hours of watching TV, it was time for bed. And as she was tucking them in, one of the kids said,
please don't let the clown get us.
Of course I'm not going to let anything happen to you. So she turned off the lights and went next door to the parents' room.
Why do y'all not believe kids? When they kid, for all intents and purposes, a kid is going to tell you some real shit. Like, when they say something, take it in, investigate, because they're not just going to create something like that. Like the first video, and then this, little Billy is saying, hey, don't let the clowns get me. There's a reason for that. But I digress. What do I?
Like the mom had asked. But the second that she stepped inside, she froze. In the far corner of the room was a clown statue. Just a really lifelike, detailed, creepy ass statue. No wonder these kids have been having nightmares. She thought to herself. So she went and sat on the bed and tried to watch some TV, but she kept looking over at the statue. Was the statue looking at me like that before? It was way too creepy for her, so she decided to go downstairs to the living room and watch TV there until the parents came back. So she's watching some TV for a while, and then her phone rings, and it's the parents just checking in.
Hey, we're on our way home. Just wanted to check in and see how things are going.
Everything's great. The kids are all asleep and in bed. I hope it's okay, but I decided to watch TV downstairs instead. Your statue was really creeping me out.
I'm sorry, what statue?
The clown statue in your room, it's really creepy, so I decided to leave the room.
Get the kids now.
Wait, what?
Get the kids and get out of the house now.
Ooh.
We don't have a statue.
Just then, she heard screams.
I
She
know
dropped
you
the
lying.
phone and ran up the stairs. The bedroom seemed so
Bruh.
much farther than it did before. She opened the door,
No,
she was
no,
too
no,
late.
no. Too late for what?
So apparently there was a little person serial killer that...
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Miss Sapphire, we are not going to just continue going on with the story as if those two children didn't get massacred by a person dressed as a clown standing in the corner, bro. What are we doing? Bruh.
would dress up as clowns and break into people's houses and murder people. I really hope that never actually happened. This really is an urban legend, but what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Like this video if it gave you the chills. And don't forget to subscribe to Snarled and check out our other videos. Until next time, sweet dreams.
Excuse me? What do you mean, sweet dreams? Miss Sapphire? Huh? You think I'm gonna have great dreams after that? GG's. But that was great. That was super amazing. Super amazing. Alright, so with that, we've come to the end. Thank you guys so much for joining in on the fun again. Like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube things, you feel me? Share with a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. You feel me? Oh wow, that last one was a wild one. Yeah. Again, guys, thank you so much for your patience. As I stated before, it's been a little bit with traveling and work, so we are back. 2025 is our year for Midnight Hour. 00, you know, it's the collective. I will see you next week. Next week I have something super dope for you guys. This one, if this isn't, the next one will probably be my best video yet. On that note, again, like, comment, subscribe. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
So settling